Welcome everyone. This is the Green City podcast number 6. Our guests today are Mitchel Downham and Shawn Paiva. They are the co-owners of Arcadia Microgreens. How are you guys?
Hey, we're doing great, man. So glad to be here.
Okay. Can you tell us a bit more about what's Arcadia all about?
Yeah, for sure. So Arcadia Microgreens is basically a small urban farm located in Ajax, Ontario, Canada. And we grow and sell organic microgreens, which are basically the sprouted versions of vegetables, grown and harvested within 2 weeks. And then we deliver them to our customers.
Perfect. Can you tell me more about the story? Why did you choose to create this company?
Yeah, you want to go ahead?
Sure, yeah. So we both have quite interesting stories and how we got started and why we are so interested in microgreens and urban gardening itself. So I came from a family where we always had a backyard. We always grew our own vegetables. Excuse me. And yeah, so I just started that from a really young age. And when I moved in with my friend Mitchell, we decided that like we have a backyard, but it's not big enough. We wanted to start growing our own food. And that coupled with like always wanting to have our own business, trying to be entrepreneurs on our own. We kind of developed this idea of microgreens are a way that we can get into farming on our small scale, like within our own home.
Yeah, so there was definitely like, with us both really loving vegetables, everything to do with health and organic produce. And we definitely wanted to involve a business in this field. And to get into agriculture requires, large amounts of capital. We don't have money to own a farm. We don't have money to buy a tractor, and we don't have any of the insider knowledge on how to even start something like this. So when it comes to microgreens, it is very low investment to begin. And it was something very easy we could do that was great for the environment, great for our community. And we just decided, hey, like, let's go for it, see what happens.
Yeah, so I originally started like a pilot project of trying to grow microgreens. I found about it online when I was started getting into like hydroponic indoor gardening, maybe like 2 years ago. And I started growing my own tomatoes indoors under these lights, just to be like astounded that we can grow tomatoes just in water. Like there's no soil involved; it's just in water under lights, and that was like so incredible to me. So I just started looking more into it, like looking at systems, how do people grow indoors in urban gardens, and yeah, and then I landed on microgreens being something that I can actually grow, and it's really healthy and it's good for me, and I can give it to my friends and my family, and my family friends started wanting to eat some, so it just that became kind of a pilot project for us to start growing microgreens.
It was really interesting because there was a period where I was living in the States, and Shawn was here in Canada, but we were both experimenting with this idea of like, could we grow microgreens and sell them and have people actually interested in buying this, right? So at the time we kept having these virtual meetings of, hey, like, what do we call our business? Hey, like, how does it actually work to run a business like this? How could we do this in a house? We were working on the website, and Shawn was growing the microgreens and seeing like who in the local community would actually be interested in this. Could we deliver and make a reliable business model? And we found out, it works. And so when I came back to the States, we decided to put all of our resources together and upscale it to make Arcadia Microgreens as it is today.
That's great. Can you guide us through that process of the idea to actually getting your first customer? What's required for anyone that wants to start that? Because people are listening all over the world, so it would be cool to let them know that they can also start this type of projects on their own countries. What's required practically to start a business like this?
Mm-hmm. So especially for microgreens, it's really great for anybody looking to start a business because you can start it with as little as one small tray and a light and a little bit of water and a packet of seeds, right? So you can find organic seeds from anywhere. You can grab some just regular potting mix, soil, organic coconut fiber. We use coconut fiber. And you can literally start it without a grow light, so to speak. Lots of people grow them in like a mason jar in a window in their kitchen, right? So as for that notion, it is very, very small scale to be able to start, and you can start growing all kinds of interesting things like radish, like sunflowers, like red cabbage, as long as you just have access to the seeds, a little plastic tray, and some water.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, for my pilot project, I just started some simple stuff off Amazon. It cost under $100, I would say. And yeah, that was all I needed to grow for my friends and family. And it returns the money pretty quickly. Like there's a fast return on investment for microgreens because, it takes 2 weeks to grow each crop. And then you can sell that immediately. And then within a few crop cycles, you've probably made your money back if you have sold everything that you're growing.
And for someone looking to get started, you don't need any kind of massive advertising or any kind of crazy branding. You could literally throw a logo together in PowerPoint. PowerPoint is the craziest program ever. You can do so much. Literally throw some labels together, get it printed on just say a recyclable plastic clamshell, and do something as simple as make a Facebook post or an Instagram post, right? It only takes a couple people to be curious and place an order, and your business can grow from there.
Great. What type of customers do you aim for?
So we started specifically with just like local residential clients, so families, right? People living at home. Part of our service is a delivery model. So we grow it, and then we will bring it right to your front door within range. So anybody who buys produce or buys vegetables, which is almost everybody, people that are interested in making big improvements to their health, people who are interested in organic eating, people who are interested in supporting local and buying food that isn't shipped from halfway across the country or another country, right?
Okay.
And then there's also restaurants that love microgreens specifically and care about organic produce or having something that looks amazing and tastes even better on their plates.
Okay, and what's the best the way that you are communicating your company, your social media, and your website? How are you doing it?
So basically, social media is huge. Facebook, I guess, is where it started, really,
Yes.
and Instagram as well. So Facebook and Instagram integrate with the business suite, so you can kind of post on one and it'll post on the other for you. Which is especially really easy if you're just starting out. And then there's also other avenues you can take it. We do have an online website. You can use LinkedIn as well. And then we also engage in some street level marketing. So having posters or flyers, basically any kind of advertisement just to get the awareness out. And we poster them all over the city, in neighborhoods, on mailboxes, the side of streets, anywhere we can. And we're still experimenting with those posters. That takes more of an art to get right. Okay. Whereas Instagram and Facebook, you can just post with a bunch of hashtags and people will start seeing it, right?
Yeah, but those are basic strategies, but people don't realize that they are powerful and they can start right away. So that's really
exactly
cool.
A huge tip I would say for anybody looking to do any kind of like street level campaign or like posting up flyers is make sure people know very clearly what you do. One of the challenges, and maybe it comes up in a later question as well, is that people they're not too knowledgeable about what a microgreen is. Right? They see a picture of all these sprouts and they think it's gardening equipment, or they think we're selling seeds when we're actually selling food. Right?
Okay.
So if you do post an advertisement, this goes for online as well, or on like a street level poster, make sure people know exactly what it is that you're offering, right? And to make people like understand that, that is food that I'm gonna get, and I'm gonna get it to my house, and that'll go so much further and save you a ton of money.
Great, and that's fantastic, because we sometimes make it so difficult to people to understand the message, the product that we are offering, and I love that distinction of making it super clear, super crystal clear, so they don't know what they are actually getting, right? So it's a great distinction. And what are some challenges that you have encountered as a business or as a green business in general?
So like to tie it back into what I just said, people not understanding that it's food, right? Yeah. So I guess microgreens, in a lot of ways is an innovative solution to food problems, right? It's a great way that anybody can produce local and, keep the supply chain very, very close to home within a community. And people, because it's so new, people don't know about them, right? If you show somebody, a tray of microgreens like we do at a farmer's market, or if you show somebody pictures of microgreens in a bowl, they don't necessarily think like, hey, that's food. Like, this broccoli microgreen looks vastly different than a head of broccoli. And so, it's definitely a challenge to make sure that people are educated. Whenever we ask people like, hey, do you know what a microgreen is? A lot of them say no.
For what I know, it's very micronutrient dense, right? It's like super dense, nutrition. It's very nutritious food.
Very nutritious, right? It has a lot of the baseline nutrition that's stored within the seed. And because it's young, it doesn't have a ton of fiber in it. Like, there is obviously fiber in it. It is a plant. But if you compare how much fiber is in like an entire head of broccoli, that's a lot of fiber and water content, right? That somebody has to chew through to get the nutrition. Whereas you can have this really, really tender just bowl of small microgreens, and it's packed with nutrition, and it's much easier to eat because there's less of that fiber content.
So it's ready, available for the body just to absorb it.
Yeah, 100%.
Beautiful. And what do you have plans to make it other type of food besides microgreens, or just do you want to focus your business on microgreens?
You know?
Yeah, sure. So we only have about 6 varieties of microgreens that we're growing right now, and there's such a wide variety of different plants that we can try growing as microgreens. So before we try to expand into other things, there's still a lot of different varieties of microgreens, microherbs, things like beets, like those bright red beets. Those are interesting as microgreens. They taste like beets, but they have that bright red color. Stuff like cilantro, like herbs, micro basil, micro shiso.
Yeah.
These interesting herbs. You want to try to master growing these herbs before we move on to other products.
So to tie it back into your question about like a business challenge that we face, right? One of the biggest challenges that we face is mastery of our own product, right? So when it comes to actually growing these, right, they're grown in a vertical system. So just say we have a metal shelving rack with lots of 10-inch by 20-inch trays filled with coconut fiber, and the trays are double stacked, one with holes on top and one without holes on the bottom, and that's filled with water. And it's filled with coconut fiber on the top tray, sprinkled with seeds, and it has an entire grow process underneath these lights, and there's fans and airflow, lots of factors to control. So when it comes to, I guess when we started the project, we only grew about 6 trays, right? And with 6 trays, there's different stages of, or not even with 6 trays, with microgreens in general, there's different stages of the grow process, right? So you need a certain amount of time where the seeds are completely covered and weighed down in darkness so that they sprout. It mimics being in soil, and the weight pushes the roots down into the coconut fiber. Then you need a period, which is another specific amount of days, where the top tray, the weight is lifted and the top tray is flipped into like a blackout. So now the microgreens are basically trying to seek out the top of the soil, even though they're technically above the soil, okay, and they stretch upwards, right? And then we have another period where we uncap them, throw them under the lights, and they go from yellow because they've been in darkness to green because they start producing chlorophyll. And each crop has a specific time it takes in each cycle. And that's one set of challenges to work through, right? Now we have to log our times. If we try to deliver it for people on a Saturday, now each variety, like if we grow daikon radish, it has a different set time than if we grow broccoli, right? So now this is another organizational challenge we need to face. But then if we end up growing, just say like we are now, like 30 trays all at once, well, now humidity becomes a huge factor, and temperature control, environmental control. Now, okay, we have the organization of how we grow it with each time, but now the humidity from all the water evaporating is at 65% in the grow room. And if we don't control it, like it will go out of control. it's this fine balancing act between all these different forces and time management. So upscaling a business and maintaining it and developing these like great organizational systems are a huge thing that we have to take into account, and we have to learn it to a T before we can really expand to just say another type of crop if we want to grow another variety of vegetable besides a microgreen.
So you're learning with the practice, with the experience. You start to make logs and understand the process of each crop, and then you start to master each one until you, once you understand it correctly, you can then expand it, right? That's what I'm getting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And a great piece of advice I could give to anybody looking to start this kind of business or any other business that involves like a food product, like in agriculture, is practice all of your crops before you go to sell them, right? Like, don't agree with a client, like a chef or customers, like, hey, I can deliver broccoli in 2 weeks because on the package it says it's ready in 2 weeks. Because I guarantee you start growing, you know, a couple trays of broccoli here, a tray of radish over here, and like something's gonna go wrong. Okay. Like, you might think it's perfect, and then you know, it might be perfect for a week, it might be perfect for a week and a half, and then on the 13th day, it's like you pull the tray out to harvest, and like there's a bunch of mold on it that you didn't even see, right? So it's very important, you know, practice your products, know your growth times, have your organization ready, and maybe even before you hit your upper capacity of what you can produce, right? Like, just say if I have 10 clients and I need to grow the amount of product that they're requesting in 5 trays, and then you have a couple weeks where you're maxing out, you know, 5 trays, 5 trays, 5 trays. Before taking any more clients on, maybe try growing 8 trays or 9 trays, and just all that extra product you're not going to sell, but figure out, you know, how much time it actually takes to deal with, you know, adding those extra trays into your cycle. Think about all the extra humidity or all the extra coconut fiber you use. Get adjusted to the workload before you commit, because I'm telling you, like, if you cut it to the wire every single time, the first problem that comes up will be a big one. You're gonna have a big problem.
Okay, that sounds super practical, man. Thanks so much for being so open with your business, because this is very helpful for anyone who wants to start a business.
For sure, we've been there.
Are just the two of you guys working on this project?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just us.
Okay. So we have like, we've had help from a couple people at various stages when it comes to like, hey, taking some product photos, or hey, making a video. Currently right now, we are getting a lot of help from 2 really great friends of ours. And they are more technical in the sales and advertising, financial planning, all the like administrative techniques of how a business runs and grows. And we meet with them weekly, and we've met with them, I think, over the last 3 weeks so far. And they have completely opened our minds to an entire side of business, right? You know, when you start a project, it's like you have an idea that you're passionate about, and you put it into practice, and you put it into the world, and you see how it's received, right? And that's amazing, and it's great to be super involved in your passions and to do it exactly how you want to do it. But there's lots of things that go into businesses that are administrative or financial, or when it comes to advertising, that have worked for decades and decades and decades. And there's a reason that they work. And it was something that we didn't even know about until these guys sort of took a look at our business and the ins and outs. And they were like, okay, well, what are you doing for this and this and this? And we hadn't even thought of those things.
Do you have an example of those snippets of principles?
Yeah. So for example, like when we first started growing and we first started selling and marketing, right? You know, we would take lots of pictures of our farm, of the microgreens in the trays and in the racks. And we would be posting lots of pictures about seeds and lots of pictures about, you know, just flowcharts of information, right? Mm-hmm. And it was more about how we were growing it and less about what we were growing. And one of them was like you got to think as an outsider, like I don't know anything about microgreens. Like I'm not in that field. You know, seeing bags and bags of seeds, sure, it's a little bit interesting, but as a consumer from the outside, like I don't really know too much about it, right? Like I really like the food. I want that. So they sort of like, you know, helped us with a mindset shift, like here and there, like put your feet or put yourself in the shoes of your customer, right? Think about what they're gonna want, and then the other stuff comes after.
Great. Now you are working together, and you are co-owners of this company. What do you see that's the key to make a partnership work?
I definitely think it's like being good friends with the person that you're working with. That's key, right? And like really valuing each other's like opinions or what each other brings to the table. Like, you know, a great part of this partnership is Shawn is a super early morning person, right? This guy's up at like 5:30 in the morning, like doing all these farm tasks and everything, right? But he doesn't stay up late. I'm a super night person. I'm up doing extra stuff at night and tending to those farm tasks. And those two skills complement each other very well, right? Or just understanding like where your business partner is strong in and like letting them thrive in that. So for Shawn, he's great at coding, right? Really good at the technical organization, the crop planning, how things work in the farm when it comes to actually planting and sourcing and doing the seeds, right? And then for me, I'm really good at face-to-face communication, talking with people, talking with the chefs, going out and advertising and marketing, right? So it's great to understand each other's skill sets, and like, you know, if it comes down to a super critical coding thing, like I'm not gonna try to brute force it because I know Shawn is out there working on it and it's easy for him, right? Or if it comes down to a super tricky conversation with a chef or something, like I don't expect Shawn to jump in and try to save it when I've been talking with this guy. So it's like,
go ahead.
Oh, so it's just basically understanding the strengths of each other and really letting each other work on the strengths and having open communication about where we can learn from each other and just build a solid foundation.
Perfect. What do you think about this question, Shawn?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the same things. Like we work on each other's strengths and cover each other's weaknesses. As far as like being business partners, it also helps that we live in the same place and that our work is the same place that we live. That definitely helps make the partnership work. And just keeping really good track of like where I put in the work and where Mitchel puts in the work. So just to help us understand like where we strive or where our strengths are and where we can improve each other, I suppose.
Perfect. Next question, it would be, what's your biggest business lesson so far? That's a question for both of you.
So I would say the biggest business lesson is probably to do your research and know the demographics or like know your target audience, right? Like for example, it's very important. Obviously, when you first start out, you have no idea who is going to want what you're selling or want what you're offering, right? So you kind of just offer it everywhere to everyone. But I think it's really important that once you start collecting that data of like, you know, who's interested, who's buying, you're always going to have people that support you. But, you know, there's a difference between somebody just supporting what you're doing and somebody really like engaging in your business, right? So it's important to figure out like, okay, who's this really for? And to start shifting your business model to accommodate them, right? Like if, for example, like we love like, or people who are really into fitness or really into organic produce and eating healthy, you know, they love us, right? So it's not useless for us, but it's definitely way harder for us to try to market to people that are into fast food, right? And a business is just more successful when it's oriented to a specific population. So it's not to say that this food's not for everybody, right? We want everybody to be able to eat healthy, and we want for healthy eating to be affordable. But especially when you start a small business, it's sort of impractical to spend all of your time to try to market it to everybody. And this was a great thing that the two of our friends that I said earlier that are working with us helped bring to our attention. Like, find your specific consumer, and just find a couple at a time. You can expand it over time, but at the beginning, like really narrow it down and start thinking like, who is my number one customer? Like, who's showing the business the most love? And try to get more of these people, because you get these people and then they start sharing it for you instead of us banging our head against the wall. Like, hey, eat microgreens, eat healthy to the person at McDonald's currently. It's just not going to work, right?
No, right. And it allows you to be super focused on your customers instead of trying to convince, because selling is not convincing, man. Selling should be just reaching out to the people that already want your product. It should be super easy.
This was a huge.
Oh, go ahead.
This was a huge thing that we especially learned from the farmers market that we were at, right? So this was our first experience dealing with a storefront, right? Instead of like normally when we do online sales, people come to us. We're not like, we haven't reached out to that many people. It's more so people messaging us, seeing what we're doing and wanting that. But when you operate a storefront, especially for the first time, at a farmer's market with lots of other products, you sort of get this more wide range of the population. And then you really start seeing like who's receptive to your product. Some people show up and they just walk straight to us and they know that they want it. Some people are interested, but they've never heard of it before. And some people are literally just walking right by us to buy the cupcakes. Like, we've found out that people walking straight by us to buy the cupcakes, no matter what we say, they're not going to stop for the microgreens. They're not going to. And it was sort of a harsh lesson at the beginning to have so many people just really like, they don't care, they're gone.
Just wave us off. Like,
wave us off every time. But then you come to understand like, hey, like that's not our demographic. Like those aren't our clients. And as much as we would love for them to incorporate healthier eating or healthier dietary practices, you need to build at least a foundation or a platform so that those people are receptive to a trusted source instead of trying to market to them directly off the bat, because it's just not going to work.
Perfect. And what about you, Shawn? What's your biggest business lesson so far?
Yeah, so I'd say probably the biggest lesson I learned was also from our friends that were teaching us all this business stuff. Mitchel already mentioned this, but the whole idea of putting ourselves in the shoes of our customers and seeing their perspective of our product. I guess from the very beginning, we were so almost proud of our company. Like, we're an environmental, sustainable, super local, fresh company, and we're so proud of that. Like, we found a solution to a food problem in our area, and we want to give it to our whole community. But I mean, our community is not interested in that like directly. Like, if we're trying to sell them microgreens, they don't even know what microgreens are. So it became really important to, when you start growing microgreens and trying to sell it to other people, you have to tell them like, this is how you use microgreens. This is why you want to use microgreens. They're flavorful, they're nutritious for you. Like, this is what we have to put forward. So when we were building our website and building our social media, we were putting a lot of stuff like, hey, look at us, we just opened up a new website, or hey, look at us, we're expanding, we're doing all this. But they don't really care about our farm. They care more about, or people should care more about, the product that they can get from our farm. Mm-hmm. And so that was like a big lesson, that we had to kind of switch our whole perspective of how we were doing things, and start putting our product forward.
Exactly. And it really was like a mindset shift for us, where we thought that tons of people would be really interested in it because of how we marketed it as so environmentally friendly or so sustainable, right? By supporting us, you're doing a great thing for the environment. But it's more so that people are just interested in food, right? Or people are just interested in what they can get, what they can do. Not to say that people don't want to be environmentally friendly, because they do, right? But when it comes to placing money somewhere, people want a product that they use. And it's more so that the people who are interested will find out. They're going to know, they're going to dig around, they're going to find the information. It's there for them, but it's just not the first thing that they are exposed to, because we want them to support us. And when they do support us, they support those things without them even knowing it, because we take the burden. of being environmentally responsible and friendly and sourcing local and buying Canadian seeds. And we take those steps to ensure that, you know, when somebody engages in that food supply chain, that we're doing right, that they don't need to think about it. They're just making a choice, but that we're actually picking up the slack and doing things the right way and the back end, so that everybody can feel great about, you know, how the environment's being taken care of.
Yeah, that's the beauty of green businesses, because it's a product, but it combines with this beautiful synergy with as being sustainable, right? And they don't, as you said, the customers don't have to think about all the sustainable. They just have to consume, but they're consuming responsibly. So it's a win-win for both parts. That's the beauty of the green business. Beautiful.
That's what we love about it.
And for anyone that wants to try your products, what's the best way to contact you? What's the process of a newcomer to get in contact with your brand?
Yeah, so we have a website, www.arcadiamicrogreens.com. We also have an Instagram, Arcadia Microgreens, and a Facebook, Arcadia Microgreens as well. They can also contact us through Gmail, arcadiamicrogreens@gmail.com, or call either of our numbers. Both of our cell phone numbers are plastered all over the website. So if at any time somebody wanted to have a conversation, even if it's unrelated, they just wanted to talk about green, environmentally friendly business or agriculture, like shoot us a text, send us a call. We'd be happy to talk. We love sharing ideas like that.
Great. And do you want to promote anything, like a new product, an event, or something that you would like that people know?
So just one thing that we do offer through our service is, we just want to say all of our products are grown or are harvested and delivered same day, right? So it is maximum shelf life, maximum freshness. Whenever you buy microgreens or anything in the stores, they've usually been sitting around in a cold storage, or they've been on the shelf for a couple of days. They might only have 3 or 4 days left in them. When you get our produce, you can guarantee they were harvested right before you got them. So they're gonna last for about 2 weeks up into your fridge. So nobody has to be fearful about them going bad. And secondly, we deliver it right to your home. So you don't have to go all the way to Whole Foods. You don't have to go all the way across the city to buy a specialty thing. We'll bring it right to you. And if anybody signs up for recurring deliveries, they can save 15% on all their orders, and they can cancel anytime, no hassle, whenever they want. So they can get it once a week. They can get it once every 2 weeks. They can get it once a month. And with saving 15% on it, honestly, it's cheaper than any boutique, luxury, organic grocery store that you're going to find. It's going to be cheaper than what you find at a farmer's market. So hit us up.
Beautiful. And is this promo available just in Ajax, or it's all in Canada, or where can they get it?
So it's all across. It's basically in the Toronto area.
Okay.
So the cities of Toronto, Scarborough, Pickering, Ajax, Whitby, Oshawa. So from Oshawa ranging east all the way to Toronto on the west end.
Great. Any final thoughts, guys, on green businesses, on your brand, or anything that you want to share with the audience?
You want to share?
I can't think of anything right now.
No. I honestly love the growing trend towards more green businesses, right? Yeah. There's a lot more local businesses that are popping up, especially after the pandemic, right? I think there was a big a vacancy with lots of businesses shutting down. So it's really great to see so many people building up their own businesses, or taking a leap of faith on an idea, or taking a risk and developing something that they're truly passionate about and trying to work it into something. Mm-hmm. You know, I believe when a business is enacting like a force of good in the world, or it's really like, you know, people come at it with a good intention. It's not just profiteering. It's not just, I'm trying to make all this money, that it's going to be well received. You know, the energy you put out is what you get back in. And if you come at it with a good intention, there's always going to be a space for it. So anyone listening, I encourage you to take a leap for it, try it out. Even if it doesn't go the best way, you are going to learn so many skills. So you might as well try it.
That's a beautiful way to end this interview, guys. Like, thank you so much for your time. You were so open about your business, and thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thanks for interviewing us. Really appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
This was the Green City Podcast number 6, and with Mitchel Downham and Shawn Paiva, co-owners of Arcadia Microgreens. Please follow them because they have a great product and a great service. See you guys. Till the next time.
See you later. Thanks a bunch, man.